Susan on the HLN blog wrote this: Murray seems to have a different set of cares and concerns for his patients and another for Michael Jackson. Interesting take there. John Manuelian, it kind of goes to your point. Yes, these were wonderful people to listen to, and maybe Dr. Murray gave them great care, but Michael Jackson didn't get the same care.
And he didn't get the same care because the prosecutor's going to argue he didn't know what he was doing, that he was a cardiologist out of his league, that he's not a sleep disorder doctor, that he wasn't a drug dependency doctor, and that the only reason Conrad Murray even thought about helping Michael Jackson was for the money. So even though the defense, you know, like I said, has got a good day going with all of the witnesses, at the end of the day, it's all about the science in the case.
Yeah. Hey, let's listen. And I thought this was affected by David Walgren, especially, I believe it was the second character witness, Andrew Guest. And Andrew Guest gave Walgren the opening by saying when he was treated, it was in a hospital and there was a team of people. Walgren jumped on that, said, oh, you had a team, and then basically rattled off all the standards of care that Andrew Guest got that Michael Jackson did not. Let's listen to that. Witnesses say he wasn't greedy, talk about the five we were just dealing with, yet he was willing to leave them to make more money. So, John Manuelian, a lot of them, like you, they're not, you know, shedding tears over all of this, the touchy-feely stuff that's trying to humanize Dr. Murray. And I know one of your signature moments, I'm going to play it for you and let you comment on it. It's the first character witness, Gary Causey, and David Walgren at the end just says, come on, you know, basically, you testify regardless. You would say anything for your friend, Dr. Conrad Murray. So let's listen to that. We'll get your take on it.
I'm not going to say nothing, well, you know, but
well, you don't.
What I know right now and what I feel, he didn't do it.
And if you assumed, I want you to assume, okay? I want you to assume that Conrad Murray acted with gross negligence in this case and caused the death of Michael Jackson, okay? You would still be here giving this testimony to the jury, correct? For your best friend?
I would be here, yes.
John Manuelian, you jumped all over that. Why did you feel that's so significant?
Because it shows that all the witnesses would rubber stamp Conrad Murray's character regardless of what the actual facts of the case are. You saw that with this witness when David Walgren asked, well, let's assume that he committed gross negligence. Your opinion would be the same. He said, absolutely. So he's discounting his testimony, and he's basically decimating all the other witnesses that are biased towards Mr. Murray, because they show that they have an affinity towards him because he was a nice cardiologist and he was a nice doctor. But in the long run, you can't shake these witnesses. You could tell them whatever you want. They're still going to stick to Conrad Murray, which hurts the defense. It discounts their testimony.
All right. John, again, John, not quite as moved by some of the character witnesses. John, let's you and I listen here as David Walgren gets back to some of the stuff you're talking about, the facts of the case. And yes, maybe Dr. Murray gave these folks great care, didn't give the same care to Michael Jackson, didn't give him the standard of care that may have kept him alive. Here's David Walgren cross-examining Gary Causey, one of those character witnesses.
Yes, sir, I do believe that that statement is true, but I also believe that
You've answered the question. Every patient deserves that level of care, correct?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
The answer to the question.
Thank you.
Walgren got his point in there. And by the way, that was Andrew Guest. And I got confused there because it was the same point with Gary Causey and Andrew Guest, standard of care. And John, that gets us back to probably what's more going to decide this case, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, these witnesses definitely humanize Conrad Murray. And you know what? It might help in a defense during the deliberation. There might be a holdout juror, one or two people that just find Conrad Murray to be such a nice guy that they just have a tough time convicting him. So it may help. But again, I think it's going to come down to what Paul White's going to say. Paul White needs to destroy the prosecution in this matter.
Yep, got it. Hey, John, real quick, then we got to take a break as we saw Sade ending one more time. I mean, what do you think Walgren was going for there? Is it to say, oh, he's such a great guy, but remember the girlfriend?
He's saying that Conrad Murray has a Jekyll and Hyde personality. And there's two sides of Conrad Murray. The one side of the cardiologist and the other, the guy that was trying to make $150,000 feeding Michael Jackson propofol.
Got it. Okay, guys, let's take a quick break again. Attorneys Midwin Charles, John Manuelian. You know, we take this in, we talk about it. Many of us charmed by Ruby Mosley, Randy and Janet Jackson. They were charmed by this witness. John, I'll start with you. Are you concerned, if you're a prosecutor, that this has changed the way the jury looks and feels when concerning Conrad Murray?
Not at all. I think David Walgren's going to close that up and tie it up in the closing argument and say, look, all of these witnesses had an affinity for Dr. Conrad Murray, But remember, when Dr. Conrad Murray was treating these patients, he was acting as a cardiologist, not as a sleep disorder expert or a drug dependency expert. So he switched his hats when he became Michael Jackson's doctor, and they're trying to show that Conrad Murray, that they know, is not the Conrad Murray that was treating Michael Jackson, a completely different person.
Got it. Right, because, John, on the other side, the prosecutors, when you cross him, you got to keep it clear. In what case can you give someone propofol and leave the room? That's point number one, right?
That's the million-dollar question. And Mike, I'm excited to hear that answer because that's what he needs to say. He needs to say that it was okay to give propofol. The amount of propofol he gave Michael Jackson was a relatively small amount. It didn't affect him. There are no abandonment issues. And he's got to go over Dr. Teflon Alon Steinberg's 6 degrees of deviation and dispel all of that, and go into what Stephen Schaefer said, dispel all that. He's got a big job to do.
Yeah, with Schaefer was what, 17 egregious violations,
16.
basically, and 4 of them were unconscionable, because the prosecution will tell you, no, I don't care. They'll say, even if Michael administered something, Murray should have been in the room.
Yeah, I have no idea how he's going to say that. I don't know how he's going to be able to say that he wasn't responsible for abandoning Michael Jackson. The only way that he could do this, and if you listen to Chernoff's opening statement, was that he died just like that. So the issue would have become abandonment if he died right away.
Got it. Okay, thanks so much, guys. Midwin, John, great job. Coming up, my colleagues Ryan Smith, Jane Velez Mitchell taking over after an emotional day in court.